We're going to call our Scott County Fiscal Court meeting, our business meeting for February 14th to order. Happy Valentine's Day to all. And, Magistrate Wallace here, he's in the mood.
He's ready.
Love is in the air. So, anyway, JR's got his on too. But no, in all seriousness, we are glad to be here, and we've got quite a bit of business to attend to on our agenda. But I would ask for you to join me in the pledge. Let us pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Hamilton, would you do us the favor and call the roll?
Mr. Hostetler.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Wallace.
Here.
Mr. Corman.
Present.
Mr. Ellison.
Here.
Mr. Pratt.
Here.
Mr. Livingston.
Mr. Livingston will be joining virtually, but is running just a little bit behind. So we'll look for him.
Mr. Culbertson.
Here.
Judge Covington.
Present. With that said, we have a quorum and we can conduct business. First item for your consideration are the minutes from our previous meeting. Are there any questions related to those minutes as presented?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Jones.
Second.
Second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills and hand checks. Any questions or comments? Motion from Kelly Corman.
Second.
Second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And I skipped transfers for some unknown reason. Any questions related to the transfers as presented by our treasurer, Michelle Ray?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Hostetler. Second from Mr. Pratt. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let the record reflect that Joe Covington and Chad Wallace, Rick Hostetler, Kelly Corman, and Rebecca Johnson all completed training units. So the record will reflect that information. Let the record reflect that Sheriff Jeremy Nettles submitted fees in the amount of $32,884.14. Rebecca Johnson, County Clerk, submitted fees in the amount of $164,161.03. And that leads us to number 9, Resolution 2501. This is a grant from the Sheriff's Office. And Mr. Betson, thank you for being here. Always appreciate your work on trying to identify opportunities for grants.
Yes, I have Sergeant Talbot helping me with this so he can learn a little bit about it. He's also our firearms instructor. The goal of the grant is to obtain funding for 10 short barrel rifles for the agency. Those cost $585.62 each. That total amount would be $5856.20. We would also be switching from our current Glock 26 backup weapon to a Glock 43X 9mm pistol backup weapon. We were requesting 65 of those. They're $368.60 each, total of $23,959. However, we would sell back the Glock 26s for $255 each, receiving a refund of $16,575, leaving a total difference of $73.84. And I believe the resolution would then be requesting grant funding in the amount of $13,240.20, and that would be fully funded with no out-of-pocket. We'd be reimbursed after we bought them. Yeah.
So that we'd have to pay, but then we'd be reimbursed.
Yes, usually within about 30 days.
No, those are always good grants. And what questions would anyone have related? And does the Glock have that laser? I know that's...
These smaller ones do not have that. They're
but these
more
are backup.
compact. They're backup.
Okay.
They're a little lighter than the 26, which will make their carrying a little easier, especially for somebody who carries on their ankle on duty as the backup.
Question?
Curious, what is the rifle?
Just a short barrel rifle. It's our standard rifle we've used and purchased the last, what do you think, 2 or 3 times? Yeah, it's just our rifle that we are giving the school resource officers, the patrol deputies.
I think he's asking the model, though.
Oh, it's a double star. I'm sorry.
A double star.
Yes.
Will the officers have, with this grant, like I know in the past they've been able to buy their guns, will they have the opportunity to buy their backup weapons if they want to keep them for the 250? I think you said 250.
That would be the discretion of the court, I believe, but that's what we did last time when we switched from our Glocks to the ones with the red dot sights.
If so, that'll come to court.
I'll have to come to court first.
We'll have to surplus it.
Well, do we have to do that now or no?
Don't.
I don't know how that would
We'll have to
happen.
wait and see which ones choose.
But I think if we are awarded,
The
then
grant.
I think then we'll have to
I got you.
do the mechanics of surplusing.
And we likely wouldn't find out about this grant. It's typically been about July, August.
Would there be any consideration of a motion to approve this?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Jones, second from Mr. Pratt. And
Oh, good.
we'll read the resolution.
Scott County Fiscal Court Resolution Number 2501, a resolution of the Scott County Fiscal Court or Scott County authorizing the judge executive to apply for a law enforcement protection program or LEP funds administered through the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security or KOHS, and upon approval to enter into an agreement with KOHS to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by KOHS to facilitate and administer the project and to act as the authorized correspondent for this project. Whereas the LEP provides grants for body armor, firearms, ammunition, electronic control devices, electronic control weapons, electromuscular disruption technology, and body-worn cameras to city, county, charter county, unified local government, urban county, and consolidated local government, police departments, university safety and security departments, organized pursuant to KRS 164-950. And whereas Scott County desires to apply for LEP funds in the amount of $13,240.20 to be used to purchase 10 double-star short barrel rifles and 65 Glock 43X 9mm pistols. And whereas it is recognized that an application for and approval of LEP funds imposes certain obligations and responsibilities upon Scott County, now therefore be it resolved this 14th day of February 2025 by the Scott County Fiscal Court, the judge executive is hereby authorized to execute and furnish all required documentation, including a memorandum of agreement as may be required by KOHS for the furtherance of the above referenced project, and to act as the authorized correspondent for said project on this 14th day of February 2025.
So we've read it now. We've got a motion and we have a second. Any other questions or comments? I do appreciate the effort to identify opportunities to do this. So, any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
That will lead us to project change order drainage. And this I shared via email from Hinkle Construction Services, and Ramona reviewed it. JR and I've talked about it. Tim, this is 8 inches of HDPE pipe, 8-inch HDPE pipe, and with metal end sections. It's 395 feet. And on that side that is closest to the entrance, if we don't do this, it'll be swamp. It just will. And it's $14,440. The prices include gravel backfill of the pipe and Class 2 channel lining. And then they're going to run this all the way around to the retention. Questions or comments about this? And my recommendation would be to consider approving this. Any comments?
I drive by this every day. That water stays there.
Yeah.
So we need to do this.
Yeah.
It's
Is
just,
that a motion?
yes.
Can they get it done before tomorrow?
I don't think so. Is that a second?
I'll second.
All right. We've got a motion. We have a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all. So Rob, and then Mr. Pratt. That leads us to number 11, Road Department new hire. And I'll turn it over to Jeff,
All right.
JR.
Good morning. Yes, on a snowy Tuesday morning, JR and I completed 3 interviews, and we're very pleased to recommend a candidate for that position. His name is Brandon Puckett as an equipment operator. That'll be effective February 24th at $19.82 an hour. Very pleased to indicate that he has over 8 years of experience in the field, so I think he'd be a great addition to the team.
Questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion from Kelly, second from Rick. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. That will lead us to our coroner's office surplus donation. Sir, it did make sense to me from Coroner Sutton. It is surplusing a stretcher. Yes, and we have got updated stretchers, but in consideration of that, I think the coroner in Fayette County is going to donate amount of dollar figure of body bags and some other tables. Yeah, so it makes sense to me. Questions or comments for a coroner about this? If anybody has any questions or comments? Motion from Rob Jones. Second from Kelly Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. This leads us to 13, HMB agreement with the bridge. JR has been on this, and we have shared a proposal from HMB that allows us to get a application in before the deadline, and I think it's $10,000 up front, but about $7,500 of that is geotech, and I shared in the email that the estimate, and JR, help me if I'm wrong, $450 to $500 on this bridge, but if we can get this application, we're awarded, then that would be covered 100% in this bridge program, 100%. Now, it's been advised to JR and I that we maybe put a commitment in our application of some skin in the game, as far as a pledge of the cost for HMB services, the geotechnical, and I think it'd be wise. I think it goes along the same lines of when we donate or pledge our flex funds back. It usually comes back to us pretty well, and JR's back there shaking his head yes. So I would recommend that in our language of our approval of moving this forward, making this application, that we pledge up to a $50,000, $55,000 amount of the HMB fees towards the application. Does that make sense to you all? Any questions or comments about this? And I think it's a no-brainer to make the application and make the pledge on a $500,000 project.
Yeah, in your email you said 55,000. Is that the amount that you're recommending, Judge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say up to 55,000. Towards the project.
Okay.
Was there any kind of timeline? I mean,
I do not know how long it will take for them to turn around and tell us, but I think we heard Bobby Joe Lewis at the last conference that we were all at, and I think they're trying to turn them over, but they get a lot of requests. Rob and I sat there, and who else was with us? Somebody else. Kelly was with us. Yeah.
Wayne might have been.
So, JR.
I think the motion we do is,
Yeah.
I think quicker the better, because
Yeah.
if we can get the application in, maybe we get something this summer done.
Yeah.
Second.
So we got a motion and a second, and that motion includes that our application reflects a pledge of up to $55,000 for the fees for engineering and such. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. This leads us to number 14, EMS Service Agreement, Safe Haven Baby Box. We have one Safe Haven Baby Box on Broadway. In my opinion, this is just another opportunity, another tool that people that are in crisis, mothers that are in crisis, have an opportunity to safely transition a child into care. And to me, it's a no-brainer, and I would support it 100%. Who else would like to comment on this proposal?
A part of what goes on with that, if they're willing to surrender their baby, it's anonymous, which sometimes is a blocker for some people to come forward and not want to be, it's a pretty tough decision. But this is an opportunity to save a life, so I'm totally in favor of it.
And the placement at Lexus Way, this has been in the plans the whole way, but it's just us getting this agreement lined up with the Safe Haven Baby Box organization.
I had some questions about, like you can't have security cameras on that side of the building or anywhere somebody would come
Just
in.
on that one.
But there's a door, and you also have to secure camera inside that training room, where you could also have like trainings and stuff going. Like that to me seems odd. Like when you could have, do you think you all will ever do like chart reviews in there and stuff like that? Like I would be concerned about having audio video recording in that room where training's going on, because you have to have. This says you have to have a security camera inside as well.
We don't currently have a camera in Broadway, in our 141 Broadway, in the room. There are cameras on the exterior of the building, but we don't have internal training cameras scheduled to be in that training room. If that's a requirement of the lease, then.
I would like to double check, but
Right.
I feel like we can have a camera that points out towards the road, but we won't have a camera right on that box.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the.
Yeah.
I think that's
On the
requirement of
outside.
it. On the outside, right on the box. That's the requirement of the agreement, the way I read it.
Yeah.
Cam?
Yeah, I mean, and that may be something that if that's, the court's not comfortable with, we can go back to them and make a modification. Like, couldn't you have a camera there, but it doesn't, any footage of, I don't know.
Yeah, the way
Or
the
is anybody
setup
that
is
dropped something off
currently
would
where
be
we
captured,
are,
would be-
there's a camera that points to that back parking lot, but the wall, the box is here, so the camera shoots this way. It wouldn't catch somebody at the box, but coming up out of the
You
parking
think
lot.
it's not an issue?
No, they inspected it. They came and,
They were good with
They
that. They were
came
good
and
with how it's
inspected.
set up?
They were-
Okay.
yeah.
They were good with that?
yes.
I think
All right.
that's, answers that issue.
Ryan, are you good with those answers?
Yeah, I mean if they're fine with it.
Yeah, they were, and they didn't mention the camera in the room, so unless that's just new in this lease, I don't.
But you weren't, I don't think we have any camera in that.
Not inside
room.
that room, we don't know.
I don't remember anything on the inside because I was involved in
Right,
that
yeah, you
because
were
the
heavily
pregnancy
involved in
center actually sponsored this box down here, and I don't remember any kind of even conversation about an inside camera because that doesn't see through the wall or whatever.
Right.
It's not gonna record who's coming to.
No, well, not
down
downtown
here.
here. I never thought about it out where we're at.
No.
I'm assuming there are some windows, but
Have we had anybody drop off ever?
not,
How long has it been there now?
about 2 years.
2 years.
2 years
Has it
now?
been 2?
Have we?
I
Have
know
we
it took a long time to even get in there.
Right, yeah. It was,
And I think it would be a good idea that, sharing information through the health department on social media about, hey, this is an option. I'm sure the Not Alone Pregnancy Center shares information.
Occasionally, we put up on the electronic billboards throughout the year. We will just advertise it, for lack of a better term.
And maybe that's something that we look at maybe periodically doing as well. But I do think we should try to make sure people are aware of the option.
Sure.
And then have somebody talked to, are we gonna keep doing the daily checks here, or is the fire department gonna do them when we
Fire
move?
department will do them when we move, yeah. Yeah, it has to be
But
checked several times
at our
a day.
station,
We will, yes.
we will cover that requirement.
Well, and that's part of, I can remember. I mean, it's hooked up to the fire alarm. It's gonna call, it's gonna localize alert inside the building, right?
Yes.
And then it will also, in case the station's empty and you guys are all out on a run, it's gonna call 911 as well and let somebody know that what's happened.
Yes.
And that, you know, when that door is open and then when it closes, that sets off all the alarms. And so that's part of their agreements, to be monitored 24/7.
You have to test it daily. You have to check it daily, and you have to do a test weekly.
Weekly, yeah.
And then if they come by, and you have to send the stuff, and if they come by and you don't have logs, it says that they will take it out.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of spot check it. They don't really let us know. They just come in and ask for the logs. The logs actually kept right on top of the box so that we don't even have to, other than let them in the door, they just go back and look at it.
Any other questions? Would there be a motion to approve? A motion from Rick Hostetter, second from Chad Wallace. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That will lead us to Resolution 2502, Legacy Trail Agreement. And as I shared by email, this is just releasing funds into the design process and not changing the budget, not changing, that overall budget. So I'll ask Cam to read the resolution, and then if there's any questions, then be happy to try to answer those.
All right, Scott County Fiscal Court Resolution Number 2502, a resolution of the Scott County Fiscal Court authorizing the judge executive to sign an amendment to an existing agreement between the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, or KYTC, and the Scott County Fiscal Court, or Scott County. Whereas on November 17th, 2022, KYTC and Scott County entered into an agreement for the Legacy Trail Extension, Section 1, Phase 1, and whereas KYTC and Scott County hereby desire to amend budget and scope of work agreement as shown on Exhibit A attached hereto, and whereas all other terms and conditions of the original agreement shall remain in effect, now therefore be it resolved this 14th day of February 2025 by the Scott County Fiscal Court, the judge executive is hereby authorized to sign the above-mentioned amendment to the agreement, as well as any other necessary documents relating to the project, to act as the authorized correspondent for said project, done this 14th day of February 2025.
Any questions or comments? Would there be a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion from Rob Jones, second from Kelly Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Pass these down, Kelly, would you please? So this, let me share that. What I'm passing out now is related to the SRO agreement, and I asked Jeff just to give you all just a estimate of total cost.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
The estimate of total cost if we approve this agreement, and this would be for next year with things in place. And we're looking at a total cost of the county of about $134,556, and that's with all those SROs. And then that Jeff also included what or deducted what would be our portion of half of the state funds allocated at each campus. So I thought that was important for you all to see that total number, and I certainly support the amended agreement that we shared. What questions would anyone have? And I would say again that I think this is a partnership. And when we started down this road, we were kind of funding more of it on our side of the ledger, but I do think that this is a partnership, and I think it's a good thing for our community.
The only thing I will point out just for clarification, because of the state reimbursement part of it, they have to qualify. So, and it's only one per campus. So sometimes it gets tricky whether or not they qualify or not sometimes.
So like,
Yeah, they're working through that, they're adjusting that, and, you know, some of
So-
that word games.
It's like the two at Scott County High School.
Right,
We only
one
get,
to one.
so that might be, truthfully, that we might need to adjust this to 144. Because at Scott King High School, it's only one campus, and we only get 20,000.
Right.
Now, I think there is discussion of
I think that every other year, that's gonna get adjusted a little bit.
Yeah.
More money in, or like the language of campus versus school is what they're fighting about like right now, so.
But the overall number here is not, I think this is a very fair number, and I think it's a partnership between us and the school board.
go ahead.
Questions?
I was gonna ask, where all the officers are at? What schools are we providing them?
Well, I'm not gonna talk about that.
Yeah, shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you where they are or they're not. I'll do it off the record,
Okay, yeah, I just wanna
you
know
Yeah,
which ones we're providing.
yeah.
Cause I know the city provides some too,
Right,
right?
right.
But
And then
we'll-
Stamping Ground provides
Yeah,
down there.
but
So
we'll-
So if you wanna think about it as far as who's doing what, Georgetown Police does the Great Crossing feeder systems, and Scott County High School does or SO does the Scott County High School feeder system.
Gotcha,
So that's kinda how we have it split up.
gotcha.
But this will get us covered.
Well,
We'll talk.
that's my question. I see 10 on here, but when I go through and count, especially when we add Oxford next year, I count 11.
Well, Oxford won't come online until
26.
26, and then we'll adjust it. Any other questions or comments?
Pam,
Yes, ma'am.
should the agreement state somewhere that it's an amendment?
I think it's a renewal, because the,
No change?
We've done this before.
yeah, the prior agreement, I think went through, didn't it go through July, Jeff? And so we just have to do a new agreement for the next year,
Okay.
so rather than an
That's
amendment.
and I didn't
I think it's
see
a
that.
renewal.
I should say it renewal, I apologize. Any other
It's all right.
questions? Would anyone entertain a motion to approve the agreement? Rick Hostetler, Rob Jones with a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That leads me to some new business. Land and water grant that we applied for at Brooking Park. And let me clarify and say again, Brooking Park already has existing land and water grant money at that location. So that's what really made it easy for us to apply for additional funding there. And we've all talked about, being careful as we go forward about making land and water grant applications, because in my mind, you really have to have a good amount of money to apply for, because that permanently puts requirements on that parcel of land that's forever. And since this already has land and water, I think that the application that we made for $250,000 to support the renovation of the 6 tennis courts at Brooking Park and the lighting, it made it a good deal. We did a resolution last spring. You all approved it unanimously, the resolution. But I just wanted to let you all know that we received a letter this week notifying us that we had, it says, "I'm pleased to congratulate you on the selection as a recipient of the Land and Water Conservation Funds. Preliminary approval has been given to your Land Water Conservation Fund project referenced for $250,000. And we'll have to enter into an agreement with the Commonwealth upon federal approval. And I just wanted your all's approval to sign the letter and move forward with the process. I think we had estimated that the renovation was around $390,000 and then $250,000 for the lighting. So, what we're doing is we're committing to putting this into the budget next year, because you won't be able to move forward with this until probably June, July June at the best, probably. So I'm just wanting to clarify that, we'd be committing to put this in the budget for next year. And we did it last year, but I'm just wanting to lay it all out for you. It's $250,000. I think it's a much-needed project. Those courts are in very bad shape. The lighting is kind of like into the fence, and, this would have new Musco lighting and such. And then I do want to say that they be painted primarily for tennis, but my plan for you all is not to. I don't think we need, because of the way it's laid out there, we don't need to change the footprint, but we can paint. From what I understand, I met with Drew Beckett and D.T. Wells yesterday. We can paint pickleball lines on the new courts. They just have to be in the same color family as the base paint on. So if we used a blue color base, then it'd be like a light blue pickleball lines and then white tennis lines. But USTA has accommodated for that and out for straight up pickleball. So you'd have 3 or 4 pickleball courts and 2 tennis courts or whatever you all wanted to do. Does that make sense?
It's about where it plays out now. It's about half tennis, half pickleball.
But I think a lot of people think that when people try to lower the net for the pickleball, it damages the net and such. So we'd switch them out. I think it makes sense to do that.
Yeah, the center latch, it'll cause damage to the courts when they start messing with it, and they'll crack and come out.
So would there be someone that would consider making a motion to approve? So Dwayne's made a motion, second from Ryan Pratt. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I was going to ask John to give us, Chief Ward, to give us just an update on fire engine. We had that rental situation, and the rental's been turned back in, but I'll let John talk about it.
Currently, knock on wood, we're doing fairly well. We still have, we still got one that's in Shelbyville, getting the leaf springs replaced. Hopefully I'll have that back maybe today, if not Monday, hopefully. And then the Lexington truck that they've loaned us, we still have it. It's in reserve, so we still, we're doing fairly well. Starting next week, we will have our ladder truck down for a week. It has a transfer case that has to be replaced on it, so it'll be down for a week starting next week. But I'll work with the city on helping us out
coverage
for the industrial area wherever we may need a ladder truck.
So while we're talking about the ladder truck is the next truck that's scheduled to be delivered.
Correct.
And that truck is scheduled in November?
October,
November, I was close.
Yeah.
And we will have to put those, I don't think we've paid for the ladder truck yet.
Yes, we
paid for the ladder. We got 2 pumpers that we have to put in the budget.
We paid for the ladder and 1 pumper. We just haven't paid for the 2 dual pumpers.
So that's as we talk about our budget this spring, we'll have to navigate that.
Yeah, we were in Wisconsin week before last with the pre-construction on the ladder truck. Everything went well on that. All the things have been signed off, gone to engineering, so hopefully they'll get started on that before too long on build. But we're hoping the October delivery time on that.
But that just reminding you all that we got 4 apparatus that are in the queue,
Right.
and it just takes time.
From what we were told up in Wisconsin is the ladder October, that 1 pumper that we ordered with the ladder December, and then the 2 dual pumpers February. So
we'll
moving
definitely
on.
have to put those 2 dual pumpers in the budget next year.
Yeah, because that's February 26th, yes. That's
Sorry.
But for right now, we're doing well. So.
Any other questions or comments?
I was just gonna ask, is there any progress on the speed of these things getting done for anybody? Is it still the same thing?
And it's not just with Pierce. I mean, you look at Seagrave E1s, I mean, they're
My understanding, like I talked to one of your fire rep guys the other day in Frankfurt, and he said one big huge part of it was that all these little groups that have always made them are now owned all by the same person. Like it's now under one huge big umbrella. That's really, since that happened, it's all slowed up because there's, you don't have the competition that you used to have.
Yeah, and I know what some vendors are doing, like such as E1, they're now looking at going out and purchasing another manufacturer's chassis because they can get it quick and then putting their body on it. But again, the only issue to me, maybe it's not an issue, but it just, you got
Makes
one
it a little sketchy,
manufacturer for
right?
the chassis and one manufacturer for the body, and you run into issues, problems, they're gonna be pointing fingers at each other to,
Yeah.
whose fault is it? But that's just, they're looking at ways to try to spit these things out quicker, and that's one manufacturer's come up with that to do, so.
So I thought it was interesting that once you look behind this,
Yeah, I don't, I hadn't heard all that.
I think it's all owned by one group now.
Yeah,
Any questions, any other questions? John, appreciate the update.
yeah, thank you all.
And we're in the process of advertising for candidates and putting together that recruit class. And
Yeah,
when will be the test that those recruits?
The written test, we have 2 days already scheduled. We've contacted everybody. Well, there's a few that still hasn't returned a phone call, but 18th and 21st will be the written test. So we have that already scheduled out, contacted them, and then I was trying to think, the interviews middle March sometime. So we're moving along with that as well.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Any other, do want to bring up JR and Chip, and I've not been up digging around, but JR and Chip have been up there fighting leaks that we've had with the roof. And after a recent inspection by Back Construction, they showed where some of the seams, we think because of the ice, pulled away, and we've got some leaks. So they've got buckets spread everywhere, and we're getting a price from Back, but Dwayne has got a contact. It's Roof Tech that's going to come by and look at it as well to give us a second set of eyes and hopefully a second estimate on repairs. And that's something that I wanted you all to be aware of, that we were working on as well.
So, Judge, to piggyback on that, so thinking about the budget, because we've been talking about the budget for next year, we're probably going to have to look at doing roof repair as well as HVAC repair.
That
for this
HVAC
building.
project, I've intentionally slow rolled because it's going to be a good dollar amount. And I want to put that out to bid at the end of, like in May, and then have the money in next year's budget for that. That was what I was planning. But the roof, once we have Roof Tech come and look at the roof, we'll ask them to inspect the whole thing too.
Okay.
And I know a company as well.
Would you?
I will. Maybe we can get a third price.
No.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much. We'll do that, but with the roof, with the rain coming this weekend, I mean, we're going to have to empty them buckets, aren't we? And maybe come down on Saturday and check them. I appreciate everybody's help on that. And then I do want to give you a little feedback. I've been emailing back and forth, phone calls with Real Property from Frankfurt about the consideration of a lease of the current sheriff's office for use by the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. I think I've mentioned this. They had offered $12.12 a square foot, and they wanted to lease. There's approximately 5,200 square feet down there, but they had offered to lease 4,163 square feet of the building. And I'll just be honest with you. I said, I would ask you to consider $13 a foot, and they're supposed to get back with me. This includes, and I made sure of this, that their proposal would include that they handle all janitorial work and they pay all utilities. So, and it would be a 2-year term. So I'm waiting to get feedback from them, and just wanted to get some feedback from you all if you think I'm going in the right direction.
I had a question. So they don't want to. There's about 1,000 square foot. They don't want to lease.
Yeah.
And did they indicate what part would that?
It's on the second floor over there, kind of on the side. And this was all about their budget numbers that they have.
I understand that. I was just trying to think of what other possible.
Could we-
That'd be
Could you
guys
put
for
something
some
else
other
up there?
kind of office or something? Putting you on the spot.
Could you, like, so if they don't take that 1,000 square foot, is it the possibility to still rent that? Like, I don't even know if somebody could get to it.
Well, I'm sure the Commonwealth Attorney would not want
That's
other.
that's the issue.
You know, because the Commonwealth Attorney is handling sensitive issues and confidentiality. No. Barbershop, can we put a barbershop up there in the corner? Now, this does not include the old coroner's office or the current detective's office. You know, that'll be something we need to consider as we move forward this spring as well, if you want to lease that or if you want to surplus it.
That one would make a good barbershop.
No, it'd make a great barbershop.
Well, it was a barber shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a beauty shop. Yeah, a long time ago.
So,
Just things to lose that 1,000 square foot of rentable space, you know?
Yeah.
They should
Well,
just rent it all.
They should just rent it all.
well, I mean, if you all want to say all or nothing, but I didn't want to walk away from I didn't, you know.
You got to
didn't
start the
wanna-
conversation.
Yeah. And you know, they offered 12 a foot, and I said, let's go with 13. Will you run that up the
It's
flag?
all from the 12 for the whole thing, or the 13 for what they're wanting around.
Or 14?
But I will go back. Cam, in some work earlier that we had did with Mike Hockensmith about fair square footage costs, that number was right at 12.
So 12 for our building is what they gave us.
So we're in the ballpark. We're in the
Does the
ballpark.
state have guidelines on that or something?
I'd have to
When they're
do.
getting their numbers.
Yeah, I would have to. I have to go back to them.
Judge,
But
Jeremy, you have something?
One thing I would consider is all of our furniture still gonna be in there.
oh, I've told them that we'd have to. You know, that we haven't put a timeline. I've told them that they're aware that we're building another building and that that's a moving target, and we're hopeful the first week of April that we can get in there, but I'm not going to hold my breath. You know, so they're aware of all that, and they're aware that we'd have to clean it out, and then they would take possession.
Judge, we do provide for leases in certain other like nonprofit groups. I believe the Public Advocate Group or the public for the help kids.
The CASA.
Yeah,
I mean that
and then
but they use that for their rent, but it's not straight to it.
yeah, but I was sitting here thinking that there
And we paid for the Commonwealth Attorney for space here. Now that will go away.
Yeah.
We won't have to do that.
I've written in to cancel that, please.
Yeah, and then there's also the Veterans Association group. But I don't. When you
It's
limit
just Veterans Affairs.
Yeah.
And it's
We split that with the city.
split that.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if there was a way that the puzzle could all fit together. But I understand the Commonwealth Attorney probably doesn't want other groups in that building. But that's other areas that we do contribute to.
But
Yeah,
I will
that's
say
true.
this.
That's a good idea.
Having the Commonwealth Attorney's main office, day-to-day office, in Georgetown, in Scott County, where her volume of cases is the largest, you can't put a dollar figure on that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And she's currently in Woodford County, and that's where her main office is.
And I can't speak for her, but I have talked to her about would you use that whole building? And she thinks she could or would.
Okay.
And if y'all want me to go back and say, hey, just do 12 for the total square footage.
While you're negotiating,
And let me say this too, that our Commonwealth Attorney's not even in the discussion. They don't.
Yeah, they're not.
This is real property that I'm dealing with. It's a total. Go ahead,
you're
Rick.
just trying to get them a place to live,
Yeah.
so to speak. Well, in that negotiation, if you got that 1,000 square feet, it looks to me like it's not usable if we do the other deal. I mean, you could even back up a little bit, go a little lower from the 1213. Is that what you said?
12.
1212. Sorry, penny there. But you could even back up to 12, and you're still going to get actually more money but that will allow them to be able to, in my mind, go, oh, well, we can pick that. You know what I mean? While you're negotiating.
All right, I appreciate that. Wanted your feedback before we moved any further, and then we've got a lot of rain coming in tomorrow, and I know Mike and all our first responders, JR, will all be watching, and just wanted to mention that, and then next week's kind of all over the place, but yeah. We'll remind you on Thursday, February 20th, 6 o'clock, the FFA is hosting a alumni chili supper, and I sent an invitation out to you all on that. And then February 18th at 5 o'clock in this courtroom, the Planning and Zoning Ag Preservation Committee, Ag Land Preservation Committee and Usage.
What day was that?
That's Tuesday, the 18th at 5, and that is that was in the bills. So I have no other new business. Does anyone else have any?
David never logged in, correct?
I don't think so. Any other new business from any court member? Yes, sir.
I'll share this. I was contacted in the last couple of weeks from a constituent. I don't know exactly what they want to do, but here's what it involves. They're looking for a place. They're hearing, the tennis courts, pickleball courts. Well, these folks are horseback riders, and they're looking for a covered and hopefully enclosed, but a covered arena to train for barrel racing, rodeo type stuff, actually. And I didn't know apparently we have a handful of people, I don't know how many folks in our community that do this, but they say it's a big deal. People come from states, all surrounding states, to compete and to train, and there's apparently one facility or two that are in our vicinity, and one of them's closing over, and I think it's Woodford County. So here's why I'm bringing it up, because they asked me, they want to know if there's any way that the court could get involved, and I said, well, I'll bring it up if you want me to bring it up. So I'm bringing it up. But I also told this gentleman that, he's going to have to bring some information, what they're really wanting, what it looks like, but they're wanting county involvement in a facility to train and to ride.
Parks and Rec does a survey, and that's never been on there.
Is that right? So, well, that's good information. So I told him I'd bring it up.
Yeah.
So that's
Appreciate that.
Horse arena at the county park, right? Or at Brooklyn Park. There's that horse circle.
But that's not covered. I think what Rick mentioned is they wanted some covered.
at least covered and possibly enclosed.
Yeah.
But
Pretty good size.
what they're working with now is I think y'all have heard of it. It's in Grant County. It's called Cowtown. They may be closing, but that's a covered indoor arena that they do a lot of barrel racing and that type of competitions up there. I told these folks.
Yeah.
What's that? Well, I'm not sure about Cowtown. I forget what he said about that, but there's an open arena. He said it's stays muddy and whatever, but they try to use it, but it's not very.
And I would echo, I think going to the Parks and Rec board and then showing, how many users there are in the community.
That's what I told him. I said you're going to have to bring some information, and so I have presented it, and then if that fellow continues and if he'll get stuff together, I'll bring that too, or have him bring it. So.
All right, thank you, Rob
Couple
Jones.
things with Great Crossings, the dam,
Yes, sir.
the project they're moving forward, probably taking out the dam. So I'm getting a lot of calls on that.
Yeah.
Told folks to contact the magistrates and contact the folks in Frankfurt. About all we can really do.
Yeah, and I'll remind everyone that we, as a fiscal court, applied for a FEMA hazard mitigation grant to install what's called a rock ramp below the dam that would eliminate the boil, and that's what causes the drowning issues. We've had 3 fatalities at that dam, and I think you know, if we had been successful with that grant application, that would have mitigated the risk and such. But my concern is safety. I understand the concern of folks and respect the concern of folks. But I could not support, you know, anything. The Fish and Wildlife adamant that their plan is to remove the dam. And, you know, I've been approached with, well, I want the fiscal court buy it. I could not support buying such a liability. And I think that is a real concern. And then the other piece, you know, the other piece is if we bought that and then, you know, our first responders, anytime they have to go in the water, anytime, it is a life-threatening situation. And, yeah, if you take that dam out, they still might have to go in the water. But with the dam, you still got the boil. And the safety issue is my concern. And if Fish and Wildlife wanted to take back up looking at a rock ramp, then you know, that would be mitigating the risk. But you know, they own the dam, and we've talked to them. We've went down there and had many conversations. As you all have seen, I sent a letter asking questions specifically about, you know, the what's going to be done above the dam with the silt, what's going to be done above the dam with stream, you know, bank erosion and the riparian restoration, and some of those things and concerns. One of the other concerns was at Canewood. You have, from my understanding, Canewood is the only entity that draws off of that pool for irrigation purposes. And from conversations with Fish and Wildlife that they've had with Canewood's HOA president, moving that intake where that irrigation is, moving it would really put them at less risk of not being able to draw when it's dry down there, and that's coming from Fish and Wildlife. So that you know, that was a question that I had. I didn't want that neighborhood not to have the information related to that. So I'd be happy to listen to any feedback from anybody else. Certainly respect those that want to keep it, but just, you know, this is Joe Pat. I'm not speaking for the court. I could not support, you know, the county possibly buying that and not removing it because of the liability and the safety concerns. And, you know, we tried to do that hazard mitigation grant, was not successful. And that's what Fish and Wildlife planning to do, yes. And the timeline I understand is August.
Appreciate your work on it, because I know
It matters that, you know, people, you know, there's both sides of the fence, and I respect both sides. Any other comments?
One other thing at Great Crossings, did have someone ask for like maybe some workout equipment somewhere around the park. It's Great Crossings.
Like chin-up bars and
Chin-up
stuff like
bars,
that.
that sort of
I mean, that's something that we could talk to Parks and Rec about as well. You know, those little stations. Sure. Chad Wallace?
First of all, I'm glad you're better.
No, thank you all for covering me last week.
Yeah.
Chad did a great job.
Yeah, after all the harassment I got from my fellow magistrates. I did want to make sure that we were clear on how that works, and I based it on memory, and Rick, I think, confirmed that.
If we had if we had a business meeting.
Yeah, and that was set up before Kelly and myself and Rick got on the court, that I believe the person with the most seniority takes over the meeting. In our situation on Friday, that would have been David. But if David was absent, what is the next, you know, what's the next, or is that something that we just?
How about Cam and I
we
review that, and Stacy?
We don't have an ordinance on that, I guess. Yeah, we can review it.
Yeah.
Come up with a
But
protocol.
I thought with the work session that.
It was fine.
I'll be honest with you, I was just trying to
That
get
wasn't-
somebody to say, hey,
That was the first thing on your mind.
yeah.
Do-
Yeah,
do
no,
we- I thought
that's a
maybe like
very
arm
important
wrestling
thing. And,
contest?
Yeah.
I
and
like that. We'll put that in order.
Arm wrestling contest or something like that, or
I gotta go do some chin-ups at Great Crossings Park before I can do that. But anyways, if we could just get that laid out.
No,
so
we get that laid
know.
out, so it's,
Yeah.
if it ever happened,
Yeah, we all know.
yeah.
On that same topic, and I don't know if Chad talked to the other guys, he probably did, but Chad and I had an extensive conversation just about the workshop. But just to be clear, we wanted to be proper no matter if it was a workshop or a meeting. But
Yeah,
this was a workshop, and I thought it went well. I thought Chad did a good job. But I thought we were okay in that because we couldn't do any business. So we basically had conversations. But we wanted to be sure we were on track on that too. So consider that when you're, even for a workshop. Again, we thought that's a workshop's kind of generic where we don't do any business, but we talk about everything. So we just wanted to be sure. Chad and I had extensive conversation about that before the meeting, just so we're on the
follow
level.
along.
Yeah.
So, forgive me, I should have had that as a item on my new business list just to go over what was covered at the workshop. And I talked to several of you through the week, and I didn't have that down. But from all accounts, it was very good information. They're doing a lot of great reach, and the metrics of what we're getting is good information. And since we're talking about it, there's another commitment of $25,000 for that's our share, $1 per person for the county, and it's Scott United has already committed and approved $10,000. The $25,000 would be from us. I would like to, and I should have put this on, and please forgive me, but does anybody oppose moving forward with approving that $25,000 commitment towards that program?
What's the program?
It's the regional competitiveness plan that was presented last week. Would somebody make a motion to approve that? Motion from Dwayne Ellison, a second from Rob Jones. Any other questions on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Uh-huh.
Any opposed? I should have brought that up.
25,000?
Yes, and it's we've got an invoice on it. But that was what the presentation was about. So, if no other business from court members.
One more thing, sorry. So through the years that I've had the privilege to sit here in this seat, I've been contacted, and I've contacted recently again about the same topic, about trash pickup during early morning hours. When I'm saying early morning, I'm talking about 7 o'clock-ish, 7 a.m. Ish. And there's one corridor that I've been called about 3 or 4 times in the past several years, and that's 460 towards Frankfurt. I have had calls on other areas, including out in US 25 where I live, in the years gone by. But so I talked with Jared about it. I just want to make the court aware of this conversation. The concern was that during 7 a.m. in that corridor, you got people coming from Frankfurt, working in Scott County. You got people living in Scott County going to Frankfurt. You got the school bus, the yard, the headquarters for the school buses. You got all that activity. Plus, you got the school buses that are directly supporting those 3 schools in that corridor. And so every time I've gotten a phone call, it's been after somebody has gone, man, a school bus just got missed. Somebody passed when they shouldn't have been or whatever. And when the trash trucks are stopping on their routes, which is a stop and go, just like the school buses are doing the same thing, and traffic's backing up both ways. And so that was the concern. I thought it was legitimate, especially in that corridor.
So the request would be on that corridor.
Well, Jared, if you don't mind speaking to it, he's already made some phone calls with.
I talked to Francis, and she's looking at the routes to make some.
Yeah, and
she's supposed to respond back in an email form to him.
And Rumpke is very responsive.
They have been, but
I think they're good partners.
I didn't know if any of the other guys had gotten any calls, but that corridor, after I thought it through, after a long conversation with the latest gentleman that's called me over it, when he started talking about what he lives here, he works there in Frankfurt, and he's in that corridor and backed up, and he said he saw somebody pull out, and he said they shouldn't have. I go, okay, but that doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Is what I told him, and so Also told him I'd bring that up and have a conversation, because at least in that corridor, that's a pretty big issue at 7 o'clock.
There's
in the
no
morning.
place to go.
And that's not,
I mean, that's the worst.
that's
I mean,
not the
it's-
only ones, because I don't know if y'all noticed it, but the delivery drivers, Amazon, FedEx, they're all parking right on the road instead of pulling up in people's driveways.
Well,
And I don't know, Sheriff,
yeah.
I don't know about the sheriff, if there's anything can be done about that, but
I hadn't
they
thought
are
about
parking on the
that.
roads and just
Yeah.
walking up the driveways.
Well, Dwayne and I going to Frankfurt to the legislative day, Rob, on Wednesday. We'd gone over right into Franklin County, but like at the crest of a hill, a tractor trailer that was making a delivery did not pull down a driveway. They just pulled over kind of on the side of the road at the crest of a hill. I mean, and it was just like, I'm stopping, I'm going to try to eyeball around, just the same kind of thing. But on deliveries, it's very difficult. I know that the sheriff's department, maybe if they saw something visually, they would probably say something to the delivery. But I think definitely on the garbage routes.
Yeah.
So, anything else? Any other new business? Cam
I'm trying
has.
to look this up. KRS 67040 says the county judge executive shall preside if present at the meeting. If he's not present, a majority of the justice of the peace or commissioners, or in our case magistrates, shall elect one of their number to preside during the absence or inability of the county judge executive to preside. So y'all would just vote on somebody, and if you want to use
Arm wrestling.
But like, to your question, if David's not here,
it's not
then
prohibited by this.
Yeah, that's right.
So
What's
let's
that?
take up at the next
No dueling,
meeting
that's true.
a
That says
conversation.
you just vote on one.
That's-
Yeah, but I think what Chad was saying is we vote on one, and then could we vote on if that person's not there, then this person is the designated backup.
Couldn't we just vote that morning?
I think
You can do it that way.
that's how I read that, but I guess you could do it either way.
So you're saying it has to be done at the meeting?
As long as, well, it doesn't say at the meeting, I guess.
So, but like, is our,
That's how I read that.
I don't know if it's policy or what it is it, like, should we not have stated that most of that we should just vote?
I mean, I don't see how it would be inconsistent with this if you all wanted to take a vote at some point by a majority that if Joe Pat's out, then whoever resides, or you could do it at the meeting. I think you could do it either way. But
I think the meeting's easier if the second person.
because you don't know who's going to be there that day.
Right.
Yeah.
I nominate Dwayne.
All right. So we'll send an email out and clarify that, but it does sound like just doing it, a vote at the meeting is the right,
thing to do.
is the easiest thing to do. Any other new business from anyone in the audience? Mr. Price, how are you? Yes, sir.
Did you have on your agenda the option for public comment
We always take public comment at the end of new business.
right now?
You take I'd ask you to go there, and you've got 4 minutes, Mr. Price.
4?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm here to say what I've said in a long letter to Judge Covington, which is not complete, and which I will continue and deliver to your office, Judge Covington, in the coming days. But the purpose of the letter is to say that the bureaucracy, the elite bureaucracies of this interlocal government over which you preside has chosen to banish horticulture and to force the population to work in factories. That's what Tim Thompson told me in 2019. He said, "You're not going to raise a garden here anymore. You're going to buy your food at Kroger like I do. We're going to bush hog your place." He said, "We want you and everybody else working in a factory. We're going to bush hog your place and make it look like a golf course, and then we're going to take your place and make a city park out of it." I had 3.5 acres, and that's more or less what they did. And what I'm saying, we have. If you look at last Friday's news graphic, a story on the upper right-hand side was about, the upper left-hand side said that the the county is going to, or that the state is going to demolish the dam as stamping ground at Great Crossings. And if you look at the bottom of that same page, I think I'm right on this, there's a big long article about the Extension Office training people to be home horticulturists and home processors of their crops so that they can sell them at the farmer's market. So you've got a one force saying no to horticulture. You've got another force saying yes to horticulture. And I'm saying yes to horticulture because I'd rather be surrounded by farmland than by parking lots, driving test tracks, and automotive manufacturing plants. I would rather be surrounded by arable land and people working on the arable land rather than factories and people working in factories. And if you agree with me, I think anybody would agree that he or she would rather be surrounded by farming than manufacturing. I'm going to assume that you agree with me on that. And if that be the case, then I ask you to phone Mr. Kevin Rexcoat. His name is Rexroad. His name was misspelled in that article in the news graphic as Rexcoat. Kevin Rex wrote at the Department of Fish and Wildlife. If he intends, he's the engineering officer who intends to demolish the dam at Great Crossing. And if they demolish that dam, the horticulture includes grain production, wheat, oats, rye, barley, corn. And if we have a revival of horticulture, an agrarian revival here in Scott County, which is what we need, then people are going to be raising grain. And they're going to need a place to grind the grain to make flour. And that's why, what I understand, long before my time, that the dam was built so that millstones could turn there to grind grain. Is my time up?
Yes, sir.
Please call Mr. Rexroad or Mr. David Coe. David Coe at the Kentucky Division of Water. The two of them are collaborating to demolish that dam. Please ask them not to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business from anyone?
Can I make a comment on that?
Mr. Jones.
So I know Kevin Rexroad. He's doing what he's told to do. He's not trying to demolish the dam. He's worked for someone and he's doing what he's told to do. So I want to clarify that.
All right. With that said, would there be a motion to adjourn? Motion from Rick Hostetler, second from Kelly Corman. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.